Hey there, mums and dads. Well, in this tutorial, I want to talk to you about the power of storytelling. So often, I meet with parents that go, Phil, I just don't know where to start. I don't know what to say. I just don't know how to teach my kids about money. And often it's very easy for us to think, look, and I don't even know enough about money. But the reality is you have 20 to 30 years of life experience on your teenager, which means you know so much more than they do. And what you've got to do, all you've really got to do is start sharing the stories of your life experience. The reality is money has not changed that much in the 20, 30 years since we were teenagers. Yes, technology has changed a lot. I understand that. But the fundamental basics of how we manage money and what's good to do to create wealth and build savings and so on, and what's good to avoid in terms of debt, that really hasn't changed so much. The fundamentals are exactly the same. So what that means is that your stories, the stories that you've got from your 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s, are just as relevant to your teen as they ever were. So can I encourage you, firstly, what I'd like you to think about is through your life there have been successes. You have had some wins with money. You have made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. And we've all had experiences that were neither positive or negative, but were still lessons for us. So what I want you to think about is, well, what are the things that have happened to me throughout my life? What are the things that I have learned in each of these situations? So what were your successes, and what were 3 lessons that you can take from that? What were your mistakes? What were 3 lessons you could take for that? And just think about your experiences. What have you learned through different experiences in life? These are then really useful for you to start teaching your kids important lessons. Now, the reason stories are so powerful is because they are basically, and I've got it down here, lessons wrapped in a story. And with a story comes personal, personal experience, comes emotion, comes so much more than just the facts and the figures that our kids are going to be taught at school. When you teach your kids using stories, what happens is you're not then going, you to your kids, you must do this, you must do that, or you mustn't do this, or you mustn't do that. You're not doing that, which is what, when we're looking at schools, it's boring facts and figures. When we're trying to teach them so often, it is pointed at them, whereas when we start teaching stories, it's about us with a lesson that they can learn from, which is completely different. It also makes us relatable. It's really good for our kids to know that we have made mistakes. We've got things wrong from time to time. We've also had some successes, because they're going to be so much more likely to listen to you if you can say to them, look, hey, I got this wrong and it took me 2 years to sort the mess out. They're going to be so much more willing to listen to you when you tell them that than say, I don't know, I've always been perfect with my money. Never had any problems. I'm just really good at it. Which one do you think you would want to learn from? So it makes you more relatable. It also makes you way more interesting when you can start sharing your stories. Believe it or not, our kids do actually like to hear what it was like in the dark ages when we were teenagers. They quite enjoy hearing those stories. And when we wrap a lesson, when we wrap a lesson for them in a story, it becomes far more memorable. So can I encourage you, please, stop and think about, well, what experiences have I had, good and bad, and what were the lessons from those, and what can I use, when relevant, to teach my kids? Because the issues that they're going to be facing in the next few years are issues that you've been through. You've either done it well, done it poorly, or maybe you've just average, but there was a lesson there that you can share with them. What I'd like to share with you too is, one of the most powerful stories that I have is my grandma taught me to budget using physical glass jars when I was 18 years old. And I get the opportunity to share that story with people almost every day when I'm teaching them how to budget, how to set up a budget that really works. And by wrapping it in a story, all of a sudden budgeting isn't just budgeting. It's actually quite interesting, because I'm teaching them, this is what my grandma did. And they go, wow, what? She had physical cash, and she had a milkman and all those sorts of things. They like the story. It actually enables them to learn it that much more. So there we go. Story of my grandma. I also share stories of the first time that I got myself into debt. I share stories about the mistakes I've made with buying and selling shares and so on. They're all powerful stories. You've got them, everyone's got them, and they're an amazing way to get your kids interested, to get your kids engaged, and to teach them essential money skills.